Welcome to Policing TV. I'm Ian Thompson-Smith, Managing Director of Policing TV, and I am very pleased to have with me Richard Olga today, who is currently Temporary Chief of Police of St Helena, but was the former Chief of Police of Gibraltar. Um, and he is with us today to talk about the British Overseas Territories and the series that we will be putting on over the next 12 months, highlighting the various operational activities of all the British Overseas Territories across the globe. So, welcome, Richard. Richard, tell us a bit about yourself and a bit about the British Overseas Territories.
Well, I've just literally retired from policing in Gibraltar, 37 years of policing. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, but when I ended my contract as the Commissioner of Police, after having been the Commissioner for 5 years, I wasn't ready for retiring. I really felt that I had a lot of energy and I still wanted to commit to keeping people safe and policing Gibraltar or anywhere else around the world. And now I've been so fortunate to be allowed to come here and cover David Price whilst he's taken off his well-earned break before he retires. And then previous to this stint in St Helena, I was in Falklands as well. I did 5 weeks down there as the temporary chief. So yeah, like I said, 37 years of policing, traditional in my family. My father was a former Commissioner of Police in Gibraltar as well. My son has just literally joined the Royal Gibraltar Police after having completed his professional policing degree at the University of Cardiff. My sister's a police officer as well. So it really is in the blue. I think we all have the blue blood in the Alger family, to be honest with you. I've thoroughly enjoyed my career in policing. Policing can be very challenging and demanding, as we all know it is, but you get so much satisfaction out of it. And I would say the difference between maybe policing places like the British Overseas Territories and other larger countries, maybe and if we compare ourselves to the UK, is that the closeness that we have with our communities in the British Overseas Territories is probably by far a lot better. Simply because of our smallness and our uniqueness and the things that have an impact on us. So where you may have the Caribbean, where they have the hurricane season, everyone needs to pull in together, and it affects everyone. So from policing to fire to politicians to the community. So it is very much a all hands to the pump, and everyone supporting one another. And so you become part of the community and policing, whether we like it or not, in major countries. And again, we talk about the UK, has lost maybe that contact with the community because there's just so much happening in bigger nations. And so I would say that the British Overseas Territories are very, very fortunate to be able to have a policing service that serves the communities that we serve, and that we do so quite effectively because of the ability to be able to have that contact with the community. So it's all about keeping people safe. You ask any police officer, that's what that's what we want to do at the end of the day: keep our people safe. And doing it in the British Overseas Territories is an absolute pleasure.
Thanks. And just to reinforce, the overseas territories are literally, when you say global, that is no understatement. We're talking from the Falklands to the South Georgia Islands to the Caribbean, right across the world.
Yeah, so you've got Gibraltar again in the Straits of Gibraltar, down at the bottom of the Mediterranean, all the way into Cyprus as well, into very close to where a lot of the conflict is unfortunately happening today. Yes, so it is, whether you like it or not, it is Britain having a worldwide presence, and it does so quite graciously through the British Overseas Territories. But when you look at the British Overseas Territories, and each one is so different, I would say maybe the Caribbean islands are very, very similar. But when you look at places like the Falklands and you compare them to us in Gibraltar, then you've got Cyprus, and even places like the Crown Dependencies, we are so different, but yet the policing challenges and demands are so similar. And they're so similar because of our smallness, the the mere fact that a lot of our police officers need to wear 3, 4, 5 different hats, and we're not specials in absolutely just one area of policing. We need to be good at a number of them, and the challenges are unique, quite honestly, to the overseas territories, simply because we are small, we're very busy, we have environmental, political, social challenges that affect any modern day policing. But because of our smallness, we have those extra challenges and again, capacity and capabilities and so forth. So that's what makes us quite unique in that regard.
Yeah, and I've been speaking to a number of commissioners over the last few weeks. The variety and the number of different hats you have to wear is quite phenomenal. So, I mean, this is something that we are hoping to pull out over the next 12 months as we do a deep dive into each territory. The videos will be coming out first Monday of each month. Hopefully, people-led stories, some of the operational realities. It's not all death in paradise. It's there are some significant challenges across the and a variety of significant challenges. But putting that all within the community that you serve, I think you've already sort of highlighted that. And so, Richard, one question that came to mind is how is it all organised, and how are you supported in what you do across the all the territories?
So any deployment that one undertakes to go to any of the British Overseas Territories is always supported by Andrew Munday and his team in the British Overseas Territories through the FCDO policing. Andrew and his team, Maria as well, I'm sure there's other names out there that have been supporting us constantly. But the work that they've done to be able to enhance policing capacity in the British Overseas Territories has been significant, to say the least, over the last 5 years, and we have all felt that support. I mean, if we look at what Maria Stanley has done for women in policing, which is so significant for us all, and the development that has gone into supporting us into being able to look at the talent pool that we've got from women, and giving them that confidence to go up the command structure and lead some of our organisations is absolutely fantastic. And it's things like that have made us so much better. Without the support from the FCDO, without the support of Andrew Munday and his team, we probably wouldn't be as good as we are today.
So, Richard, thanks for all that information. Just one last thing that we were going to just touch on is that it's an amazing role, amazing people, but there are opportunities for people to get involved. In secondments and advisory, I think as we touched on earlier, in terms of women in policing. So just any words around what people should do or think about before applying for a role in the British Overseas Territories Police?
Absolutely, and the opportunities are amazing. There are so many opportunities to support the British Overseas Territories, and they're constantly looking and seeking for that expertise in different areas. So all I would say to anyone wishing to do so is to make sure that you do your homework before you go to any of the British Overseas Territories. Policing is very similar wherever you go, and that won't be very different. But there are significant challenges in some areas of policing that we operate in, and there's also significant challenges on the islands themselves, whether it be social, political, economic, or whatever it is. It could have an impact on your deployment. But the job satisfaction that people will get out of supporting and making people safe on these islands is significant and such a pleasure. And I've thoroughly enjoyed my time.
Excellent. Well, thank you ever so much for your time, Richard. Temporary Chief of Police of St Helena and former Chief of Police of Gibraltar. Really appreciate your time today, and hopefully touch base with you at some point over the next 12 months during the series. Thank you.
Trevor is a former senior officer at Sussex Police in the UK, and then a Chief of Police at St Helena Police and Commissioner of Police at Royal Turks and Caicos. To be joined by Robert Clark, who is the Commissioner of the Royal Anguilla police service, police force. So, Robert.
Barry, you're currently the Chief of Police in the British Overseas Territory on the Falkland Islands. The interviews with David Price, Chief of Police down in the South Atlantic in St Helena. Of course, and the other thing to remember about the job, it had about 5 or 6 hats. Because it's so small, the small territories very rarely do you have one job. So I was the Chief of Police, I was the prison governor, Chief Immigration Officer, head of the fire service, head of sea rescue, head of emergency planning. But what kind of got me the job, I think, was they were then just developing an airport and they wanted someone with airport policing experience. So it was a fascinating job for all of those reasons and those hats I had to wear. So one day you'd be policing and the next day you'll be in the prison dealing with some issues in the prison. Then we had to develop a sea rescue service. Overseas, I'd encourage this. This first tip is, unless you have to make a decision in the first 3 months, don't. Because you'll make a better one some months down the line. And so whilst there is some similarities, they're immensely different territories. And St Helena is not quite crimeless. It does have crimes, but it's actually, in terms of community, a very safe community. Very safe. And it will have the number of crimes in a year that Turks and Caicos has in a month. So, for example, one crucial area is when we have an incident, say a police-related shooting, to help the independence of that investigation, we would assist each other by sending investigators to other territories. So there is a level.
And I suppose the really good example of that recently for me was we had a number of very serious incidents on the island, unfortunately murder and attempted murder, and the Royal Anguilla Police Force was at saturation capacity in relation to investigative and responsive to those incidents. So I was able to lean into the FCDO through the Governor's Office, through Andrew, and we received a number of deployments to support us. And at the moment, we're currently sitting at 95. So this year, through budget negotiations, I have managed to negotiate with the government an increase in budget that will probably bring us closer to 110, 112. We're established for about 130, so we'll try and push on next year and the year after to try and bring us to where we are. One is police corruption, and another one is the murder of a customs officer in the first week that I arrived. And if I put into some context for the viewers and yourself, I think I arrived on island on the 29th, 30th of April last year. And within the first 8 days, there was the brutal murder of Garmin Greenaway, a customs officer outside his house, and 6 other attempted murders. I put that into the context of 95 police officers.
So absolutely great police force. It's a small force. There's 28 of us in total. We run the entire control room for the island, so maritime, fire, police, ambulance. We are isolated down here. We're very dependent, as are a lot of as I come on to St Helena and Ascension when I've just finished with the Falklands. We're very dependent on that boat once a month to bring in us our supplies. And you very quickly learn to be very self-sufficient. Now, last year, I think we had 48 arrests for the year. I know some of your viewers that are watching in their forces are thinking, goodness me, I had that in an hour. So it is safe. There's no or very little acquisitive crime, very little theft. Burglaries are unheard of. Everybody looks out for each other. Our main problems are really public order, drink-related type incidents. People have a little bit too much to drink. The problems we face, so the difference between the UK and policing an overseas territory, there's far less of you, but you've got to provide the whole spectrum of policing. So I have to police nationally on probably what is, in some areas, a shift of 20. There's 28 of us covering 24 hours, covering the entire remit. So there's 2 or 3 officers wearing different hats. So negotiator, supervisor, peace, covering, as I say, covering a numerous things. A story really at Christmas, last Christmas, we had someone walk into the front office with £600 in cash and handed it over, said, "I've just found this outside in the street." It's that kind of community. Anyway.
The next morning, I was somewhat surprised, as was the DCI and the Deputy Governor, who've also been involved in planning it, to hear on the radio. Radio announced that we've been invaded by a team of Angolan mercenaries who were now staying at the hotel because they'd put 2 and 2 together and got 222, I think, never mind 4, and decided that this team of Angolans were actually mercenaries rather than, I think there was a cook, an aide de camp, and various other people who were there. Not a firearm or anything between them, but with the deputy governor having to go on the radio and reassure the community that we weren't being invaded. And that's one of the major issues we have in such a small community, is trying to recruit potential and develop potential officers from within the community. It's very, very hard for them to learn policing in an environment where, because of the small size of the population, because many of the families have been here for generations, they will find themselves dealing with people they know almost all the times. Like quite literally every day, the officers will know somebody, and in many cases be related to somebody we're having to have dealings with, either as a victim or a suspect. That makes it really challenging for them to learn. And the key issue we've been wrestling with for a very long time, even going back to your days, is the retention of officers.